Blessed are you who are poor. Blessed are you who weep. Blessed are you when people hate you. And woe to you who are comfortable. There goes Jesus again, turning things on their heads. Holding a tension between comfort and stability that we strive for and those things we try so hard to avoid: poverty, sorrow, exclusion, avoid for ourselves, sometimes at the cost of others. And in that tension between comfort and stability and sorrow and poverty and exclusion, in that tension is change. Scary word. If you are poor, you will inherit the kingdom. If you are wealthy, you will become poor. If you are hungry, you will be filled. And if you are filled, you will become hungry. That happens to me on a daily basis. Things will change. Often, usually even, with varying degrees of hardship and loss. And oh boy, have we seen changes these last few years. And oh boy, have we seen hardship and change out there. And that change that is not us, not under our control, changes us. And we, in turn, change what is out there, what is not us, because really they're not that much different. But here is the incredible news, the good news, is that that change, that loss and hardship bless us with a time of opportunity, a time of shaking ourselves awake and resurrecting to a new way of being, transforming, embracing our inheritance. But beware, because it can also harden us. It can also cause us to hold too fast to dreams of glory and comfort we once had, even making it better than it actually was. And missing in that hardening, that calcification, the blessing, the beautiful blessing that has been offered, the community to answer Jesus' call, a responsive, living, growing, beloved community, changing. We bring who we were to what we are. There is no doubt about that. But once we have received the blessing of hardship, once we are faced with knowing more than we knew before, we cannot go back. We cannot go back without moving closer to death rather than to life. We cannot go back without moving closer to death rather than to life. Think of so many of our saints, all of them I would even go so far as to say. Hardship and change is at the core of their transformation, at the core of it. Think about it. Joan of Arc, my very favorite saint as a 13-year-old kid, probably most other girls who are into that kind of thing. Joan of Arc would not be Joan of Arc had the English not been cutting a violent swath through France. Saul would not have become Paul had he not been faced on the road with the brutality. Paul, Saul, Saul, why do you persecute me? And given up that life of luxury for one where he was often cast into prison. And Martin Luther King Jr. would not be the MLK we know had he not been a black man oppressed by a system that excluded and persecuted people of color. And even looking outside of Christianity, Mahatma Gandhi would not be Gandhi had he not faced the brutality of English colonization in India. And we've faced a pandemic. And we've faced transition. Each of these saints that I just talked about and many others were thrown into moments where change became so intense, hardship and suffering so obvious that they had to make a decision. And that's where we crack open. That's where God, who has been knocking all along, steps in. That's when the saint in all of us wakes during heartbreak, with our humanity, our vulnerability laid before us, the opportunity for loving clear. God gives us free will, leaves it up to us. King was an academic, a PhD and a pastor, when he was thrust into a civil rights movement, when he agreed to lead that bus boycott and let his life be forever changed. Saul, a persecutor and avid hunter of Christians, was confronted by Jesus on the road to Damascus with the pain he's causing, and he repents, and he becomes a voice for Christ. And Joan of Arc, that strong-willed young woman, chooses to leave her village and lead an army instead. And Gandhi sets aside his life as a very privileged barrister and lawyer and takes up instead the cause of his people, of the Indian people. Because what each of these saints did is what they saw is the blessing in that moment of change and hardship. They saw a seedling of God's kingdom, and they set out to protect, nurture, and grow it in themselves and others. They didn't cling to their pasts or lament what was. They brought it with them, and they answered God's call to love, to love. In times of change like this, Jesus tells us, be alive, be awake, love, embrace one another. Yesterday and Friday at our diocesan convention, Bishop Rob and our presiding Bishop Michael Curry spoke and preached so beautifully on change. Change in the world, change in the church, change in our hearts, a cracking open, an opportunity, a blessing, a fertile tension between what was and what is yet to be. Here at Church of the Good Shepherd, we have been through some difficult years, a perfect storm of transition and external influences of changing culture, pandemic, political upheaval, and things are so very different than what they were. The comfort of the good years has been upended. And what better day to mourn that than on All Saints Sunday? Because it is hard. It is very, very hard. Like churches, cultures, and saints before us, a reformation, a transformation is happening as we speak. We cannot go back to where we were. Not after what we've been through. Not after what we've seen and learned about ourselves and about the world. Things have changed. My youngest son turns 25 today. He's not the little 9-month-old baby anymore. He's changed again and again and again, and so do we. And that is good. It's good. It's very good. Just as King brought his incredible theological mind into his work as civil rights leader, and Paul brought his passion as a persecutor into his work as a church leader, and Gandhi used his knowledge and intellect as a lawyer to apply the right pressure to the British Empire, Church of the Good Shepherd, and each of us brings what we were into what we will be right now. But we don't bring it calcified. We don't bring it thinking it has to be what it was. We bring it alive. We bring it as an aid to the kingdom, to the breaking in, to the cracking open of who we are, that heart of who we are, always there as we change and transform, as we are blessed. Think of all we are doing now, right now, of all these beautiful people in this church, this beautiful music, the children. Eyes open after so much change, so much loss and hardship. We are on the verge of something new. And the hardship we've been through, I promise you, blesses us with that opportunity. We see it over and over again in the Bible. Something new that embraces the Church of the Good Shepherd, embraces who we are. We'll never be what we were, but we've seen the light on the road. And this is a pivotal moment when we make a choice. The question is, will we take off our barrister suit and put on, and I did look this word up, probably going to pronounce it wrong, our lungi, the cloth that Gandhi wore? Will we set down our milking pails and pick up our swords? Will we set down our theological treatises and books and get on that bus? Will we? Let us take up the blessing that God has offered us, this hard and wonderful blessing. Be alert, my friends. Be generous, be kind, be involved. Be the love you want to see in the world. Amen.